cousins, Anita Leiter and Rebecca Crust, to come up next.
Good morning. I didn't write this down, but Uncle Bass and Mom and Dad and Aunt Kathy with her camera. We went to Gettysburg when I was about 14, and walking through Gettysburg with Dad and Uncle Bass was like having the guy from the History Channel right next to you. I found out more about Jenny Wade and Antietam and all those places than I ever learned at Summerfield schools. It was a wonderful trip. Anyway, what I did write down was anytime we welcomed a new member into our family, we would always say the same thing: wait till you meet Uncle Bass. He always asked you that one question. Where did you go to school? How did you meet? But the most important question was, are you a Michigan fan? There are a couple who have slipped by, and he still loves you. When we talked to Uncle Bass, it was always about simple things. He always wanted to know how the family was, what was going on in Petersburg, how did you do in sports, how was school, how was work, did you see the Michigan game? And in that conversation, he would always tell us a story about when he was in school, or growing up on the farm, or some of the characters he knew in town. My son Jake said it best: Uncle Bass was never one of those men who had to talk over anyone in a room, because when he walked in and spoke, an entire room listened. His stories made you feel like a kid, even as an adult. I found this a while back. I might have to read this name. And it reminds me of Uncle Bass. It says, "Do not ask your children to strive for extraordinary lives. Such striving may seem admirable, but it's a way of foolishness. Help them instead to find the wonder and the marvel of an ordinary life. Show them the joy of tasting tomatoes and apples and pears. Show them it's okay to cry when a pet or people die. Show them the infinite pleasure in the touch of a hand, and make an ordinary come alive for them. The extraordinary will take care of itself."
There's not a whole lot more I can add to what's been said already. Uncle Bass was really special, and whenever he would see my sister and me together, he'd look at us very carefully back and forth, and he'd say, "Now, which of you is the good sister?" And it became a running joke, and it was usually at Christmas time. We always wanted to be the good sister because we thought maybe we'd get something extra, but he was so generous, Oh, and by the way, Becky's the good sister this year, so, watch that one. And then the other thing I remember is that, like everybody said, he was, outside of our dad, probably one of the kindest, most generous people I've ever known my whole life. Loved to take people out to dinner, and the expression, "there's no such thing as a free lunch." No, when you're with Uncle Bass, lunch is free, and he didn't want you to even offer to pay for anything. And he loved to sit and hold court. He would sit, not in a pompous way, but tell you a story, something he'd read. Did you hear about, with the new recruits for the Michigan team? And then he always would end with some kind of joke, but he'd always start with, "Hey, now stop me if you've heard this one before." Did any of us ever stop him? No. Because even if the joke was bad, and it ended with a really bad pun, oh, we love puns, the delight in his face to tell us a joke was amazing. And so we just sat and listened to him over and over and over, even if we'd heard it before. And then the other thing I remember about Uncle Bass is he loved to dance. Just loved to dance. And I asked him one time about watching Dancing with the Stars, and he's like, "That is not dancing." And I asked him one time, I said, "Uncle Bass, you and Aunt Kathy are very hobbly and wobbly. How do you do this whole dancing thing?" And he said, with a smile, "We just hang on to each other." So that's what we should remember. When we get hobbly and wobbly, just hang on to each other.